Before we start today's episode, I want to make an announcement. My 8-week, very small group coaching program for beginners to macros will open in September. And this very small group program is meant for women who want to build muscle, get stronger, get fitter, get leaner, and lose some body fat as well. This program is called Macro Simplified, and it's meant for women who are new to macros. So we start from the beginning, and I'm going to teach you all the steps that I personally took to when I first got started with macros. And as a result, I was able to lose quite a bit of body fat. I gained a lot of muscle. I started feeling a lot more comfortable in my clothes and even went down a couple of dress sizes, and I didn't miss out on any of the foods that I liked. So it was way different from what I had done previously in the past, where all my fat loss, weight loss was always based on how much should I run, how little can I eat. So it's very, very different from that mindset. If you want to be the first one to hear about this program when it opens, then what you can do is get on the wait list. Getting on the wait list simply means that you will be notified first when doors open, because like I said, this group will be very small and spots are very limited. So if you want to do that, then make sure to hop on my wait list. The link is available everywhere. It is in my Instagram bio, it is YouTube description and show notes as well. So do that, and I'll see you in the episode.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the next episode of the Balanced Vibes podcast. My name is Kirsten, and today we're talking about macro tracking versus intuitive eating. Is one way of eating better than the other one, or does the other one have any benefits over the first one? What is the deal? I've noticed that there are a lot of people who are hardcore one camp. I'm all about macros and they track everything pretty much all the time. And then there's another group of people who are just intuitive eaters and they like to trust their body signals and hear what the body says and just eat according to that. And a lot of times there's a little bit like a fight, like, hey, this is better and my approach is better. You should never be doing this other thing. I think there are times when one approach is better than the other one. And this is what we're going to talk about today. But before, I want to mention something interesting that happened maybe about a year ago. So I posted something on Facebook where I had put together a plate of food, and I think I said there, this is a meal that has maybe 35 grams of protein, and I don't remember how many carbs and fats anymore. I don't remember the exact details, and this is how I put this together for myself, because my goal is 150 grams of protein a day, and this is how I get 35 grams with breakfast, something like that. And then somebody saw this post and commented, well, it doesn't look too intuitive to me. And the thing is that macro tracking and intuitive eating are not one and the same thing. Now, it doesn't mean that you cannot eat intuitively at all if you track macros. Definitely does not mean that, but macro tracking and intuitive eating are not the same thing. And so the reason why people start macro tracking is that there's something that they are not accomplishing right now with their intuitive approach, right? So last week I talked to one of my newer clients, and she has been tracking macros for 4 weeks, I think, at this point. And she said that, it's actually a little bit harder than I thought. And it's not the same that what I did before. And I said, of course it's not exactly the same, because if it was exactly the same thing that you did before, how would you expect to get any new results, right? And she said, oh yeah, that's actually right. And she had already seen some results. For example, she has a lot more energy. She's sleeping better. And also she said that her period, which was the first one after she started tracking, her period was so much more normal than the ones before that. So these changes that we had made through macro tracking, significantly increasing her protein, which is the thing that most women need to do, also increasing the fiber. So these two things had completely changed the way she was feeling and the energy level that she was having, and then her period. And she realized, oh yeah, you know what? It did take a little bit of effort. It did take me some time to reorganize my meals a little bit, change a couple of things up, and now I'm starting to see the difference. Did it take work? Yeah, it did take work. But again, if the old way of doing things worked, then you wouldn't need to do anything differently. And this is also what I went through when I got started with my own fat loss, because for the longest time I had been thinking that I shouldn't track anything. Tracking is bad. I have been in this like circles for a little while where this is the message, and I was like, well, I have to continue with intuitive eating. At the same time, nothing was changing because my intuitive eating had not helped me to lose body fat. And now I see really clearly why this is the case, because I always like to use this metaphor, like if you don't have a map and you want to drive somewhere, how are you going to get there if you don't have that map? Actually, we just experienced that a couple of weeks ago, not a couple of weeks ago, I think it's more like a month at this point, when we were in Mexico. And then one day the power was out everywhere. And of course the Wi-Fi was out too in our Airbnb. And on that day we had planned to go check out some beaches. And we couldn't even, we couldn't get the map, nothing was working, right? And then how do you go to the beach if you don't know how to get there? It's the first time in the city, you've never been there before. You just like start driving. I mean, can you get there? Maybe you can ask people, but we didn't speak the language. Maybe you can ask people if you speak the language, but it's still so much faster if you have the map and you know where you're going, and the Google is telling you that make a right turn here and make a left turn there, and this is how you get there. Without it's really hard, right? So we ended up not going and staying in and reading and stuff, but which was nice in a way. But also, we didn't get to the beach, right? We didn't go to the beach because we didn't have the map. We didn't know how to get there. So today I want to talk about in which case is macro tracking a better idea, better approach for you, and then in which cases intuitive eating is better for you. And I should have said that in the beginning, but when I say intuitive eating, I'm not referring to that book and the framework outlined in this book. What I'm talking about is listening to your body, what your body just feels like, telling you, you should have this right now, you should have that right now. This is what I mean when I say intuitive eating, just like eating based on what you feel is right for you. So let's get first started with the macros. When is this a better approach for you? And it's one clear answer here. It is when you have a goal, right? The goal can be physique goal. You want to lose body fat and you want to gain muscle. So now if you continue to eat the way that your body told you, using your intuition, trusting your intuition, and nothing is changing, your physique is not changing, then you need to do something different. And macros are really amazing for that, because if you have customized macros that are designed for you, keeping in mind your goals, your current physique, your activity level, then this will work. Macro tracking is a guaranteed way to change your body composition in a healthy way. And why I really emphasize the word customization, it has to be done for you, is that what works for one person doesn't probably work for you. You can get the same macros that the most beautiful Instagram model has, and they will not work for you because her body is different from yours. Even if you take the same macros that your friend used or your mom used, it's not going to be the same thing because they are not you. Maybe your friend doesn't eat meat and you do. Maybe your friend is 20 pounds heavier or lighter than you. Maybe your friend does 4 workouts a week and then you go running. Like there are so many different variables that come into play, and that's why macros have to be individualized. But if you have a physique goal, you want to lose body fat, you want to put on muscle, the macro tracking is really what guides you in the right direction, and you start seeing the results. I can guarantee you that. This is what I did all 2020. I got a lot of results because finally I stopped telling myself that the only way to change my body composition is eating intuitively. It didn't work for me. And so I started tracking macros and everything changed. The second goal that you can have, and where macros come into play, is that if you have a performance goal. So maybe you have been working on your strength at the gym for a long time and nothing is happening. You're not getting stronger. You're kind of getting stuck. And I like strength goals really because they are so objective. They're so neutral, so objective. Like you cannot argue. If your strength goes up, this is progress. This is progress. So with weight, it can be like, you don't always know, like, did the weight loss come from fat loss? Did it come from water loss? Like there are more variables, what time of the cycle it is right now, the weight fluctuates, but strength, it's so objective. You're getting stronger. Nobody can argue with that. So if you now have been going to the gym and lifting the weights, but you have plateaued, nothing's happening anymore. Your lifts are not getting stronger. Maybe you're going in the opposite direction. You're actually getting weaker. Then this is not where we want to be. So if you want to get stronger, again, super helpful to get your macros right And a lot of times the issues that I see are low protein and also low carbohydrates, because we have been taught, a lot of us have been taught into this thinking that carbs have to be low. We gotta do low carb, we gotta do keto, and you're not gonna get strength gains if you limit your carbs to like 25 grams a day, even less than, or even if you have more than that, 100 grams, you may feel like this is not enough for me because I'm not recovering well and my sleep is getting worse and I don't have the energy. Then you have to increase that. And I don't want to like throw out like any numbers here, like everybody should be eating this much, because again, individuality. But this is one thing that I see when the strength is not going up. It can be that your carbs are too low or your protein is too low. Of course, there's other variables too, like sleep and recovery and all that. But then with nutrition, we can change so many things. And this might be the missing piece that's right now is holding you back from getting stronger. And then another goal that you can have, and where macros can be super helpful, is your health goal. Okay, so the health goal, one example that I really like to give often is the period stuff, because you probably know that this is pretty important part of what I do too. And I have noticed it so many times how women tell me that now their cycles are so much more normal. And they didn't even know before that there's something wrong with them. They thought that it's okay to have like really painful periods. They thought it's okay to be so bloated. Oh yeah, this is a big one. Like, I'm so bloated like a week before my period. And then they start balancing out their macros. And that also often comes from eating higher protein and eating a lot more fiber. And these two things can make a big difference in how your periods come. So many women have told me that they don't get the bloat anymore, that annoying 5 months pregnant look that they used to have before. They don't have that anymore. And I have a couple of clients who have told me that my period just showed up and I didn't even realize that it's coming because it was so symptom free. So maybe you have a health goal like that. And again, you're trying to do it intuitively and you keep doing what you're doing. And how can anything then change? How can anything change if you're not changing the way you eat? So these are the ways, or these are the times when macro tracking is very helpful. Like if you have a goal, if you're currently not where you want to be, maybe you have a physique goal, fat loss, muscle building goal, and then strength goal, or then health goal, then you got to change your nutrition probably to get to that goal. Now, when is then intuitive eating the better approach? Intuitive eating is a great approach if everything is fine. If there's nothing to change right now, you're getting stronger, you have the body composition that you desire, you're feeling healthy. I don't think you need to change anything, right? Why fix something that isn't broken, right? So people might be sometimes be thinking that everybody should be macro tracking. I should start too. And I don't know that you have to. If you're feeling great, nothing to change, then keep doing what you're doing. Clearly it's working for you. But also ask yourself, like, is my health as great as I want it to be? How is my recovery? Do I feel recovered? Do I feel like I have a lot of cravings? Do I feel my periods are super painful? Am I accepting these things? Or maybe I could do better. Maybe I could do better if I just change my nutrition. Maybe there's something that needs to be balanced. So this is where macro tracking, again, will be helpful. And the other time when eating intuitively is a good idea is that when you are eating at maintenance. So I want to say, if you have a goal, let's say you had a fat loss goal and a physique building goal, and you got there with macronutrition, and then after you have gotten there, it's a long journey if you're doing it right. It's not like super quickly. But during this time, you have learned a bunch, right? You have learned how to balance your plate and how much protein is a good portion for you. You have learned all this. And so now you can transition into more intuitive eating because you already know how to do this pretty much, more or less, right? It's not going to be as accurate as tracking, but still, if you don't want to track all the time, you just want to eat intuitively and you are at your maintenance level, then I think it's a good idea to transition into that so that you can start letting go of tracking everything on your MyFitnessPal and then letting go of using the food scale. And it's a totally normal and healthy place to be. So macronutrition is almost like the guide. It's the teacher that shows you how to eat healthy intuitively. Because a lot of times we actually lose this intuition. And, sometimes people say, nobody needs to track anything ever because you were born with this intuition. You were born with the knowledge like when to stop. And yeah, it is true. Like no babies need like a food trackers, right? The baby just stops eating when they're full. But then life happens, like all the things that come our way, the diets that we have tried, and then there's a lot of like processed foods that doesn't allow us to be like intuitive in a healthy way. So for example, there's so much abundance of food around us all the time. And this is very different from a baby who was just like drinking breast milk and knowing that, okay, that was enough, fine, good, I'm done now. It's so much harder to do with highly processed foods. So another example would be, for example, like a caveman time or cave woman, where we had to hunt down our own food, get our own meat, eat like mushrooms off the ground, or like pick the berries. And it's so much easier to stay intuitive that way when you don't have these highly palatable foods around us that just are designed so that we want to eat more of them. And this is the mistake that I made also when I had gained weight between end of 2016 and then 19. I had gained gradually quite a bit of weight, but I was like, I'm eating intuitively now, and then this is what I want. But my intuitive eating often looked like eating like just like half a bag of tortilla chips, and then that's even we used to go to that froyo place a lot called Menchie's. It was so good, still is really good. But there's literally a week when I had that for lunch like 2 or 3 times, because I was like, but food freedom, they say that this is the right thing. And I just, gradually like went like that. And it doesn't mean that I didn't eat healthy. I still ate like plenty of vegetables and plenty of fruits and then proteins, but definitely didn't eat as much protein, definitely didn't eat as much vegetables as I do now. And I definitely had a lot more sugar. And then, the point is to show that right in this like environment where food is everywhere and you can literally have like a froyo delivered to your house like 15 minutes from now, you don't have to go even anywhere. And then you want more of it because, your brain gets this hit that the sugar was so good, we want more of that. It's super hard to do it intuitively. And I feel like this is where the macro tracking really comes in, because it can teach you what might be missing right now from your plate. What are the changes that you have to create if you want to see a different result? And intuitive eating doesn't always help you to do that. So these are my thoughts today on intuitive eating and macro tracking. It's not that one is always better than the other one, or you have to like marry to one and never do the other one. Actually, one of my clients asked me one time that, do you ever take time off from tracking? And yes, I do. I don't track when I'm traveling. There are periods of time when I'm maintaining and not having any specific goal. And then I might do like a check-in day and see where I'm at, but I'm still paying attention to how I'm eating. So what might be helpful for many of you too, who maybe want to transition from tracking all the time to being more relaxed about it, is that use the hand measurements. So palm size of protein, fist size of carbs, thumb or half thumb size of fat, and then as many veggies as you like. So you can use that as your guideline when you put together your meals, but you don't have to then track all the time, and you can move towards intuitive eating. So yeah, I told my client that, yeah, I do take some time off, and I don't think that everybody should be tracking all the time. However, when I have a goal, when I want to do another cut, when I feel like I want to, I've been maybe building up a lot of muscle and I've been on a bulk, and now it's time for me to, I really want that muscle to show, all that hard work that I put in the gym. I want that to show, and I'm going to go on a cut. Then I got to know what I'm doing. I just can't like, I'm just going to sort of try to get my way to that leaner body composition. It's just not going to happen. It's so much more helpful if you have a guide, if you have some numbers to look at, and this is how you're actually going to see the progress. So this is it for today. Make sure to sign up for my Macros Simplified program that is opening in September. So you can sign up for the waitlist, which means that you will be the first one to hear when the program is open. And this is important because it's going to be a very small group program. I want everybody to have the attention that they need, because like I mentioned also, everybody has to have customized numbers, because without that we just can't like copy somebody else's numbers and hope that stuff will work for us. That's not how it goes. This is not good way to do this. So if you want to be the first one to hear when this program becomes available, which will be in September, then join the wait list, and the link for that is everywhere. It is in my Instagram bio, it is in the show notes. If you listen to this podcast on your favorite podcast platform, then it's also on my blog, and of course YouTube description as well. So I really hope to see your name on that waitlist. And if you're watching this on YouTube and if you enjoyed this episode, please don't forget to leave it a thumbs up and then share with anybody else that you think might be interested in it as well. So this is all. Thank you so much for being here, and have a great week.